dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, it's 6:30. I'm Will Puckett.
And I'm Cassidy Stricklet. Hope your day is off to a great start so far. It's going to be off to a very chilly start.
And chilly start indeed. So let's bring Brandon in on the fold. And Brandon, you're having to turn up the Doppler all the way to its highest sensitivity to see anything falling, but there's still a little bit falling, especially up in those higher elevations.
Right, and those eastern counties as well. So we've got some pictures starting to come in from our WYMT weather spotter Mary Runyon over in Pike County near the Belfry area. So we have that one, and then we have this picture, which we're taking a look on the camera network. We've been looking at all morning long, US 119 there on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain. And again, it looks like traffic moving pretty good, but again, remember this is a 6-hour time lapse. So foggy and snow right there on the sides of the roads. And maybe slippery conditions last night. There were people up there that were stuck because of the simple fact that it was so slippery that they had to stop and let the salt trucks come up there and try to work on it. And I think maybe one of those time lapses there, it may be a salt truck coming across the hill there. So again, just kind of keep in mind higher elevations looking pretty rough. I got a report from WYMT weather spotter Nancy Leet a few minutes ago going in from Jenkins into Virginia there on top of Pound Mountain, Jenkins Mountain, that it was snowing up that way. And I think I start to see a little bit of snow there on the road over on US 23, US 119 there at Jenkins. So again, just be extra careful this morning. Outside WYMT here in Hazard, just a little fog off in the distance, but clear here for now. Live pinpoint Doppler radar, again, as Will mentioned, on its regular setting, doesn't look too impressive, but it would turn it up to the highest sensitivity you can see off in the distance there. Still seeing some snow showers fall this morning. The moisture still hanging around and doesn't want to give up just yet. Some cloud cover has diminished in a lot of areas this morning, especially down toward London. You see 24 there, 22 Ashland, 27 Moorhead, and down toward Williamsburg. But you see those areas where it's a little bit warmer, those 28s and 30s there. That's where we're still seeing some of that cloud cover. When you factor in the wind chill, it's not as bad as it was, but at one point, some spots were in the teens. Day planner, we are going to see temperatures climb into the upper 30s, close to 40, especially if you see some sunshine later today, and that is a possibility. We'll talk more about it coming up here in just a few minutes.
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, court documents revealed chilling details about the kidnapping of Jamie Kloss and the death of her parents. According to a criminal complaint, 21-year-old Jake Patterson killed two strangers so he could kidnap their daughter after seeing the teen get on a school bus. Patterson now faces murder, kidnapping, and burglary charges. Now, Jamie Kloss is back with her family while Patterson waits for his next court date behind bars. Patterson is being held on a $5 million cash bail. He is expected to be back in court on February 6th.
Meanwhile, two women are now safe after a hostage situation at a New Jersey UPS facility. Prosecutors say a man broke into the facility and took the women hostage. Officers eventually stormed in. The suspect was shot and killed, but thankfully no one else was hurt. Prosecutors say there was a prior relationship between the gunman and one of the women he took hostage. We do not yet know the suspect's name.
Well, President Trump's pick for his new attorney general goes under the microscope. William Barr's confirmation hearings start today, and his prior comments about the Russia investigation will play a role. On Monday, Barr sent a letter to Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham. It references the 19-page memo from last June that said, based on public reports, President Trump's interactions with former FBI Director James Comey, none could constitute obstruction of justice. Despite his previous criticisms, Barr also said he would let Mueller complete his work.
What he's telling the president is, I am happy to be your nominee, but these are my red lines. And don't you try to change the terms on me once I'm confirmed.
Now, since the GOP is in control of the Senate, it is likely that Barr will be confirmed. Matthew Whitaker has been serving as acting attorney general over the past 2 months.
Meanwhile, Stormy Daniels is suing several police officers in Columbus, Ohio for her arrest at a strip club last year. The adult film actress is suing for false arrest, false imprisonment, and violation of her civil rights. Daniels, who claims she had an affair with the president years ago, says the officers were avowed supporters of Trump and says she was targeted as retaliation. The pretext of the arrest was that Daniels violated Ohio law by touching patrons at the club. She was released after posting bail, and a day later the charges were dropped after the city attorney said the law did not apply to Daniels because she did not regularly appear at the club.
It is now day 25 of the partial government shutdown, and each side continues to dig deeper. Around the country and even inside the White House, the shutdown is causing problems. CBS's Mark Liverman has more.
I will never, ever back down.
President Trump says Democrats are playing politics as the partial government shutdown enters its 25th day.
They're only doing this because of the 2020 election.
Both sides have refused to budge over $5.7 billion for a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border.
He'll bluster, mislead, storm out of meetings until he gets what he wants.
800,000 federal employees are working without pay or furloughed, and that includes much of the White House staff. So when the Clemson Tigers came to celebrate their college football national championship, the president bought the food.
We have Big Macs, we have Quarter Pounders with cheese, we have everything that I like that you like.
The effects of the shutdown are more serious around the country, including at airports.
We are going to see lengthier and lengthier flight delays as the staffing issues become worse.
On Monday, the TSA said its employees who missed a paycheck on Friday called out sick at more than double the usual rate.
You know, it's chaos out here. This line, I've been here about 15 minutes, and it probably moved about 2 feet.
The agency says it will move officers around the country to deal with the shortages. Mark Liverman, CBS News.
Now, yesterday, the Pentagon approved a request by the Department of Homeland Security to provide more military personnel to help operate security cameras and lay barbed wire along the border. The move is unrelated to the possibility that President Trump could declare a national emergency to try and build his border wall. Though yesterday morning, Mr. Trump said he is not looking to call a national emergency and would rather work with Democrats.
Now, as we mentioned, some air travelers out of Atlanta may want to use some extra patience at the airport because of the shutdown. So if you're heading there anytime soon, just be aware of that. Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport is reporting long wait times at TSA security checkpoints. The airport's director of communications says had to close some of the security lanes. Wait times for all 3 domestic terminal checkpoints were running at more than an hour. TSA agents at the airports across the nation are currently expected to work without pay, as we mentioned. So there are people that are calling in sick at higher numbers.
Well, we are now more than 3 weeks into the partial government shutdown, and federal employees are waiting for a deal and a paycheck. By now, hundreds of thousands of government workers missed their first payday since the shutdown began. About a dozen workers stood outside Senator Mitch McConnell's office in Lexington. They are asking him to call a vote to end the session. Many missed out on a paycheck last week.
An attempt to weaken the Obamacare contraception mandate has been blocked nationwide. This comes as a Pennsylvania federal district court judge agreed with an earlier California ruling that affected just 13 states. The decision comes one day before the new rules were set to go into effect. In her ruling, Judge Wendy Beetlestone said losing contraceptive coverage would result in, quote, significant direct and proprietary harm to the states. Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro called yesterday's ruling a victory for the health and economic independence of women in Pennsylvania and across America. The changes were part of the Trump administration's efforts to roll back regulations that conflict with some Americans' religious beliefs. Democratic-led states successfully launched the challenge of the Trump administration's interim rules.
Kentucky State Treasurer Allison Ball announced a new bill to give teachers the tools to teach financial literacy. The goal is to teach Kentucky teens how to balance a checkbook, smart house buying decisions, and how to save money. If it passes, House Bill 139 will mean books, materials, and training for teachers so they can educate students on money management.
We're seeing now that people have not been taught this, and schools are starting to recognize that this needs to be part of what they're teaching. You can't just leave it up to, oh, they're going to pick it up somewhere along the line before they actually become adults, because that's not happened.
Finally, something more useful than Algebra 2. House Bill 132 was passed last year. It requires high school students to take a financial literacy class before they graduate. Miss Keith, I'm just kidding, I promise.
Well, another Republican filed to run for governor yesterday. William Woods of Corinth joined State Representative Robert Goforth of Laurel County, who made his announcement for his candidacy last week. Justin Miller of Florence will join Woods as his running mate. Woods' campaign website lists casino revenue, marijuana legalization, and legislative pensions as major agendas to tackle. Or major issues to tackle on his agenda, rather. Got my words mixed up. Governor Bevin says he will seek re-election himself, but he has not yet filled out the paperwork. And the debate over pension reform begins again today in Frankfort. The Public Pensions Working Group is made up of both Republican and Democratic state lawmakers. Their meeting is scheduled for 9:30 at the Capitol Annex, and they plan to meet again on Thursday. The General Assembly does not meet again until February.
6:41, still to go on Mountain News this morning. A wild police chase in Nashville. Authorities chased down a wild animal that made its way into a convention center.
The wintertime roller coaster weather ride continues this week, and everything from chances to some stronger storms to snow are all part of the attraction. Strap in. I'll have the latest forecast in about 2.5 minutes.